Thanks for joining us today. We'll go ahead and get started. Our first question from Jake.
Hey, what's going on, Lou?
Hey, how
So
are?
it looks like you guys have brought in Xavier Howard. That's obviously someone you've got a little bit of experience with. So he's a little on the older side, hasn't played in a year, but what are you hoping to get out of him? And how involved were you in the process of him coming to Indy?
Well, I know X from his college days. We drafted him when I was the DB coach at Miami. I was around him during that process, around him his first 2 years of his career. So the one thing about him that always jumped off the tape to me when he was at Baylor, reason why I was drafted so high is he can go get the ball, and he's proven that throughout his NFL career. That he's been a elite interceptor. So we're hoping that we'll give him some time to get back into football shape because that takes a while. But hoping that we can get some of those interceptions going.
Nate.
Along those lines, I mean, we know he's had, a great career so far, but he hasn't played football in a year and he's 32 now. Do you have a sense for how much he can still do, or do you have to just wait till you see him out there on the field?
Well, we last year at the Bengals we worked him out back in December. You've seen him move a little bit and look good, and I just feel good about the athlete that he is, and maybe you could look at it as his legs got a year off to rest. So one thing I know is his ball skills and those things they don't go away with time, and he still has those.
Joel.
His experience, does that allow you to feel good about him just kind of picking up all the different things you guys do?
Well, he's played a lot of football. He's played in a lot of systems over the course of his career. So while we may call it a little bit something different than what he's used to, he'll just equate it to the things he knows. And, I don't think there's going to be anything where it's like, okay, this is totally different. I think he'll pick it up pretty quick.
AJ.
Hey, Lou, what have you maybe learned about DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart just over the, couple of weeks of training camp, the time you had with them in the spring, those two guys together?
Well, I mean, I think it's easy to see what they bring on the field, in terms of their play. Grover being as powerful he is and can still affect the quarterback with rushes, and Buck being just for how tall and athletic he is in different ways. So everybody sees what they are on the field, but what I didn't know about him, and you wouldn't until you get here and day in and day out, is just how they just are great leaders. They're smiling on their face every day, both of them, and we're so fortunate to have them as team leaders, and specifically on defense.
How important is it to have, I mean, those guys have played together now for 6 years. Like, how important as a coordinator is it to have that kind of established core at the center of your defense as you start kind of building everything else out?
Oh, it's huge. I think it's a huge impact for us. The type of players they are, the type of men as they are, but also, as you mentioned, the positions that they play, they can impact the game in so many different ways. So yeah, it's a great thing for us to have them.
Chap.
Hey Lou, thanks for doing this. Uh, you guys practice for a reason. I mean, you need the reps. How's your level of confidence when you haven't had these guys together? Z's not been out there in a game yet, and you've missed your corners, and Quiddy's been missed time. What gives you the confidence or belief that this is going to come together in September?
Well, I think it's, the whole league deals with injuries. I think if you'd asked any team, where they're at from an injury standpoint, there's going to be guys that have missed practice. It's going to happen during the season, and just how you integrate the guys that are coming off of whether it be a surgery or a 2 week ankle injury, whatever it may be. I think that's just a part of the way the NFL is now. It's always been that way. So it's a process that we're going to go through. But at the end of the day, we've the opportunity for the other guys to get reps has been a big factor for us, and I think those guys will be able to step in and when we get the other guys back. And if there's a hiccup down the road, then all these reps that these other guys have banked will really come into play.
Thanks, Lou.
Kent.
Hey, Lou, given the variety of schemes that you deploy, and we saw a gob of them on Saturday afternoon, how important is versatility in that defensive line. I mean, you got to have guys who can do multiple things, don't you?
I think the more you can do, the better at each level of the defense. So I think, guys are really starting to hone in on what their jobs are and what their job expectations are. And it's allowing us to play fast. It's allowing us to be great communicators. So I think it helps. The more you can do certainly helps the entire team and the entire defense.
As you did what you did on Saturday and really deployed a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, there was a wide menu of scheme. Was that to evaluate different guys in those roles, or are you trying to, kind of stop the Packers?
I think we did some things. I think that our general philosophy during training camp and the preseason games is maybe do a little bit less and let the guys go out there and play fast and can see the younger guys just run and tackle but with the older group maybe did a little bit more, but they all handle it well, and as we get into game week, that's certainly the volume will certainly pick up.
Thanks, Lou.
Just do a few more here, James.
Lou, obviously you all have dealt with injuries in that secondary, but considering other guys who got opportunities, what do you like about or what you see from Chris Lamons in that second game against the Green Bay Packers?
Well, I think corners and slot corners in particular, they're all going to be judged on when the ball comes to them. What do they do? They can have 40 or 50 passes in the game, but they're whether they had a good game or a bad game will be the 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 targets that they got during the game. And I thought, with that said, Chris, there's a couple of snaps where certainly he could have done better, but when the ball came his way, for the most part, he did a good job. And there's things to clean up, but I was happy with the way Chris played.
Last two, we'll go Kevin and then Steven.
Hey Lou, with Xavier, did you see enough in that workout? Thinks he's good to go, or do you want to see exactly where he's at once you get him into practice settings in terms of if he can help you week one?
Yeah, I always think it's just a matter of time. The good news is we still have 3 weeks before we play a game. So, I think we'll evaluate it, and we brought him here for a reason. So hopefully he'll be worked back in as quickly as possible.
Last one, Steven.
Hey Lou, what's been sort of your evaluation on Latu, particularly in recent practices and then the game on Saturday?
Yeah, again, a guy that comes in every day, works, wants to be great, has a really, really high level of high level of ability as an edge rusher. He can really bend and twist the edge, and he's affected the quarterback both in practice and certainly now in the game. So, I'm expecting big things. He's expecting big things from him, and the combination of those guys up front, I think, will allow us to do certain things, and also, I think Latu will have a big year.
Has he, he talked about wanting to add more power to his game after last year or during last year. Are you seeing development there too?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something that, you'd ask any of the great edge rushers, if you don't have speed to power, then you're not going to, make your money in terms of sacking the quarterback as efficiently as you could. So he has shown that now throughout, really even some last year, and certainly now as Charlie Partridge has done a great job. Charlie and Matt Raich have done a great job with him, developing him. And, I think that, again, the sky's the limit for Latu.
Thanks.
Great. That was our last question. We appreciate you joining us today. And Jim Bob, how are you?
All right. How we doing, everybody? Back on this Zoom. Looking forward to, hopefully the technology works well with us here. First one of the year. Sure we'll have plenty to look forward to. Okay. What do we got, guys? How we doing?
Good. We'll take our first question from James.
I'll say this sort of in jest, but do you know who the starting quarterback is? And if you want to share, feel free.
I will leave everything along those lines to Coach Steichen, and we will go from there.
And then on a more serious note, in all seriousness, when you look at evaluating both quarterbacks, Shane mentioned like how big the operational stuff is. How much do you evaluate that like in game versus out of game? Like in the moment, are you like noticing a lot of this operational stuff, or is it something you look at more on film and then go over with like Daniel or Anthony?
I think it's
sort of every practice, every walkthrough, every game, there's an opportunity to sort of work through all that stuff at the quarterback position. Hearing the play, calling the play, operating at the line of scrimmage. They got motions, they got protection changes, they got all sorts of stuff that goes on that the quarterbacks have to manage. Sort of the whole game, the whole walkthrough, the whole practice. It's something we're always sort of keeping an eye on. It's a big part of that position, and we'll always sort of keep an eye on it.
Nate?
Hey, Jim Bob, just as you look back through the entire preseason training camp, where do you feel like Anthony's shown the most growth to you from when he got here to start camp to where we are now?
Yeah, I think his comfort level, within our offensive scheme, obviously being his third year, working through uh, different pass concepts, different running concepts, different reads we have. I see him getting more and more comfortable as we go, which lets him play faster and lets him play more confidently. You know, it's something that all quarterbacks work to push to have mastery of their system so that they can, ultimately go play as fast as they can and as confidently as they can, and that continues to develop for Anthony, which has helped him out.
Joel?
When you look at the backup offensive line, what sticks out to you about those guys?
Yeah, there's been some guys that have played some really good football. There've been some guys that have had, quite a bit of opportunity to play. Sometimes a lot of reps in a practice or a lot of reps in a game. We're excited about how some of those guys have played, and whether it's outside or inside, uh, there's guys that we think have a chance to really help us this year. In the NFL, you know, it's pretty rare that you're able to just start five offensive linemen game after game after game. Things happen. You have to get into that depth and get into those guys that may not start game one. And whether it's Jalen Travis or Tuck or any of those guys, there's a bunch of guys playing good football, and Coach Tony Sperano pushes them so hard, and he's on them pretty hard, which I think helps them get the most out of their practice, out of their game. There'll be more opportunities coming up, and we're excited to sort of see how those go and how they handle them. And we'll have a new defense we're scheming up against this week, and how do we manage those adjustments? And for the young players, how do they manage their third different opponent? Right, we're having preseason game one, game two, game three. There's a lot that goes into those things. If I'm a center making identification calls or protection calls, and Coach Tony's reminding them of different blitzes that the opponent has. It's things that whole group has to manage. That the more we see them work on that, the more we see them manage that, the more we learn about them. But it's been a good group. They're working like crazy, and we're excited about them.
JJ?
Jim Bob, I'm curious what the process is with Tyler of like evaluating what he's good at during maybe like the heavy install phase of training camp, and then like figuring out how to implement that for week one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, initially, as we go into camp, you want to give them a shot to kind of do everything, and that's most of our roster. Y'all have heard me say that enough times. You don't need to write it down again. I've said it a bunch, but those guys get to do the whole install, and what routes the tight end has on the install. He works every one of those things as we get more and more comfortable watching him play ball and learning about how he plays ball. We try to put him in different positions where he's doing maybe different things and experiencing different routes or different run blocks or different parts of the field that he's at, sort of playing ball. We as we see that as training camp develops, we start having those unique ideas, those sort of creative ideas about ways to use him, ways to give him opportunities to play ball in a different manner. That'll be a big part of the game weeks, because that's every game week. We're game planning opponents and trying to use our guys in creative ways. He's done a great job picking up what's needed. He's still learning things and running routes for the first or second or third time sometimes when we put a new play in. So there's learning and growth that's going on, but we're really excited about how he's managed all that, and I think he's going to have a great capability to help us when we get into that week after week game plan mode and are able to sort of put guys in different positions to maximize their success. We think he's going to he's going to really have a great shot to have a good week, 1 week at a time.
Do a few more here, Jake.
Hey, Jim Bob. When people on the outside kind of break this QB competition down, just to totally generalize it, Anthony's got all these physical gifts. He's kind of a risk taker, whereas with Daniel, he's more of a cerebral guy, probably a little more risk averse. Are there any like big misconceptions about these two that like really stick out to you that, you'd kind of like to push back on?
Well, I don't, outside of what you just told me, I don't know all the conceptions out there on these guys, but it's almost infinitely more complex than that. Each guy has their set of career experiences and sort of plays and concepts that they're comfortable with, plays and concepts that are new to them, plays or concepts that perhaps some point in their past they would have read a different way or used a different footwork to throw a certain pass play. So we're working through all that with these guys. They're working to be the absolute best quarterback they can be. Each guy does have some different strengths and different ways they go about doing that. That's our whole roster. That's our job as NFL coaches, is to figure out exactly what guys do well and really emphasize that. And then when there's things that we think we can improve or they can improve, to really push those guys to improve that. So I see two guys who have really put in a ton of work to be the absolute best quarterback they could be, day after day, consistently showing up, doing that. Whatever the conceptions are about each guy or misconceptions, however you want to put it, I don't know all that, but I know that the guys have really competed like crazy, and it's been a really good camp.
And we'll do our last one from Kevin.
Jim Bob, I know we probably asked you more about Anthony than Daniel, but with Daniel, what would you consider his strengths are as a quarterback?
Yeah, Daniel does a nice job. He is a veteran quarterback who's played a lot of football, and the more football you play, the more you see, the more sort of experience you have dealing with problem solving on the field, handling different situations. For instance, we have our playbook, we have our plays we run. Well, Daniel may have run several plays that looked quite a bit like that in the past. Some of those might be, we might execute them very, very similarly to the way he has in the past, but some of them are different, and you have to adjust at quarterback, and he's done a great job of managing those differences and still going out and playing good football and learning his teammates and learning, maybe how to throw a certain pass to Josh Downs that he might need to throw a little differently to Michael Pittman because of their size difference and things like that, or the way they run a certain route different. So he's done a nice job with that. Obviously, he's played a ton of football, so I would say the experience that he has been something that's been valuable for him to be able to manage all those situations, which he's done well.
Great. That was our last question. We appreciate your time today.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Good. How's everybody doing? Happy to talk about joint practice and obviously the game. Felt like in joint practice, both in joint practice and the game, guys overall played solid. There's some things that we need to clean up, especially, from a technique standpoint and kickoff return. We didn't get a kickoff return opportunity in the game until the second half. And making some substitutions and things at that point, would have liked to seen a better opportunity to get the ball out past the 40-yard line. But coverage unit wise, both in joint practice and the game, felt guys, certainly cleaned some things up, played more under control, did a much better job of tackling throughout the game. We were able to get 47 different players in the game this time. Didn't quite get everybody in the game or as many guys in the game as we did in week one due to some limited reps and opportunities. We're certainly going to work to sub in and give everybody an opportunity in this last game and probably play a little bit less of some of our top special teams guys, similar to what offense and defense will do. Kicking wise, I thought Spencer Schrader continues to improve. We had an operational issue on his first field goal in the joint practice where we had a bad snap. Certainly, he gets to benefit from having a veteran long snapper and holder where that doesn't happen very often. And he brought his eyes up and lost focus off of a bad snap being in the ground. and he can learn from that. But outside of that rep, he looked really good in joint practice. Thought he looked really good in the pregame. That's 2 games in a row. I think he's been comfortable, confident, handled the game well. Obviously, he has experience kicking in games last year and kicking under pressure in games last year on a somewhat limited basis. But it's a little bit of a luxury through 2 preseason games to have our kicker get 8 kicks in a game. He's been 7 for 8, continues to look good, hit the ball clean. I'm really happy with where everything's at and how he's progressing. This week we plan to start Schrader, allow him to go through pregame, continue to work his mental aspect of the game, get everything started. And then we will roll in Maddox and give Maddox a chance to be able to show what he can do. I think Maddox is starting to kick better. He's been hot the last 2 weeks. He's overall up to now kicking 80% for camp. Maybe started off a little bit slower being a rookie in fall camp, but has really settled in. He's a talented young kicker, kind of like what we've done in the last 2 years, where the first year we gave Lucas Haversick a chance to be able to show what he could do in the last preseason game. Last year we gave Spencer Schrader a chance to be able to show what he could do in the last preseason game. We're going to give Maddox Trujillo a chance to be able to show everybody what he can do in this last preseason game. We always want to try to bring in a talented young kicker in training camp, so we can constantly have, somebody ready to go, an emergency name if something were to happen. Usually the specialist position that ends up having traditionally a little bit more of an injury risk would be kicker, and issues with, over kicking and things. So it's always nice to be able to have a talented young kicker in here that you can have ready to go in an emergency or be able to bring in. And certainly we had Maddox here to compete, and we'll give him a chance to show what he can do kind of in a live setting this week. Open for any questions.
Joel?
What have you seen out of Anthony in the return game in the preseason so far?
Thought he did a really good job setting things up. He was aggressive to set up a punt return in the first game. The second game, he did not, I don't think, play to quite the standard that he has. We didn't get a kickoff return opportunity. He didn't get a kickoff return opportunity in this game, being that he's the primary kickoff returner in the first half. We didn't get an opportunity there. But punt return wise, he did not track the ball as well as he could have on that first punt return. He ended up slipping and falling, which then led to him slightly muffing the return. That's something certainly we can get cleaned up. And there was one ball that he allowed to hit at the 8-yard line that we think he should have caught. But as a whole, I think he's had a really clean training camp, both in practice, joint practice, and games. And we expect some really, really good things from him at returner.
Kevin?
You mentioned the lack of kick returns, Brian. And do you view Anthony as kind of the guy back there, or do you still expect to rotate in a lot of guys?
Right now, I would expect that Gould and Doolin would be the 2 returners that we will have back there, which is very similar to what we did last year. I think that both are really talented returners. Obviously, Ashton Doolin is one of the best special teams players all around in the NFL. But in this model, he's really good at making good decisions. He can set up blocks if he doesn't have the ball in his hand. And we saw last year, Doolin was able to generate some explosive returns and make something out of nothing. So I think he's really dangerous back there as well.
JJ?
Hey, Brian, Spencer's last 2 kicks, he was able to get a bounce on them. Was that something he was just working on? And is that an intentional thing to try to get a little bit of an advantage on coverage?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of teams certainly experiment with different kicks. Certainly, if you can get the ball on the ground, you can start covering as a kickoff team once the ball either hits the ground in the landing zone or is caught. So if it hits the ground and is not in the hands of the returner, that gives your kickoff team a little bit of an advantage. We weren't necessarily trying to hit any trick kicks in this game. Those balls that did end up hitting the ground, it's not like they hit the ground at the 18-yard line. One of them hit the ground, I think, at the 12, and one of them at the 8. We were really just looking for some lower kicks that the returner would catch, and not be easy for them to just set up underneath to catch. And they allowed the ball to hit the ground. I think, probably we would have wanted to have a little bit more sense of urgency at returner to catch those balls. So it wasn't like we were trying to hit a design trick kick or anything in those situations. We were just trying to hit a lower hang time kick in those different regions.
And then we'll take our last one from James.
Brian, I wish I could phrase this better, but what makes Ashton Doolin a football player? Meaning, why do you think he's able to thrive, whether it's a receiver, gunner, return man, just whatever's thrown at him, he's able to really kind of make an impact?
He's certainly a unique player in a variety of different ways. Number one, he's obviously has incredible athletic skill. He's very strong. So when you look at him at wide receiver, he's a great blocker. He's got great play strength, especially for a wide receiver. He's bigger than most, traditional wide receivers are, both from a height, weight, and strength standpoint. Has great burst and acceleration. He's a guy who has, multi-sport guy who's played other positions and things. He's a small college guy that's done a little bit of everything. So he kind of had to work his way up and kind of have experience in doing a variety of different things, and naturally has the ability to tackle, has the ability to do some other things that maybe some offensive guys don't have that experience doing. And he's just somebody that works really hard at it, studies the game. He's now a veteran that kind of knows what it takes to be successful and just really has a knack and great instincts for finding the ball and making plays.
Great. That was our last question. We appreciate you taking the time today.
Appreciate it.